You spend 6 weeks growing seedlings. You harden them off. You pick a cloudy day to transplant. You water them in carefully. Next morning, half are wilted. By week's end, only half are still growing. Transplant shock kills more seedlings than pests or disease combined. And there's a 5-minute step that prevents it. Costs less than $1. Sits in your kitchen right now. University research shows survival jumps from 60% to over 90%. Roots triple in size by season's end. Garden centers don't sell it. Not because it's illegal. Because 48 hours after you activate it in water, it would explode a sealed bottle in a warehouse. Carbon dioxide pressure. You can't bottle living biology. Today I'm showing you what it is, how to make it in 5 minutes, and the one timing mistake that wastes the entire batch. That mistake at the end is what separates gardeners who see dramatic results from those who see nothing. Before we start, drop a comment right now telling me what country you're watching from. I want to see every single location in this community. I post simple tips like this every week. Subscribe so you won't miss out. Let's get into it. Here's what kills transplants. When you move a seedling, thousands of tiny root hairs tear away. Those root hairs absorb water and nutrients. The moment they're damaged, water uptake drops. The plant can't replace water lost through its leaves. Leaves wilt. Growth stops. The plant enters survival mode. Watering heavily doesn't fix damaged roots. It doesn't signal the plant to grow new root hairs faster. It doesn't provide the hormones needed to restart growth. What the plant needs is a flood of growth hormones that tell root cells to divide immediately. Amino acids already broken down and ready to absorb. Beneficial microbes that colonize the root zone and outcompete pathogens. That's what the 5-minute treatment provides. Type transplant shock if you've lost seedlings this way. Garden centers sell rooting hormone for $15 to $30. Works fine. But what they don't sell is something sitting in your kitchen right now that does the exact same thing. Produces identical rooting hormones, plus amino acids, plus B vitamins, plus beneficial microbes. Cost less than $1. Why don't they sell it? Because it's alive. The moment you activate it in water, it releases carbon dioxide gas. A sealed bottle would explode on the shelf within 48 hours. You can't bottle living biology and ship it to stores. So garden centers sell you the synthetic version, and you make the living version fresh at home. 5 minutes. The ingredient is plain baker's yeast, the kind you use for baking bread. Research from agricultural universities documented something remarkable. When living yeast is applied to roots at transplant time, survival rates jump dramatically. Root growth increases significantly. Transplant wilt decreases. When you mix yeast with warm sugar water, it produces rooting hormones. The same hormones those expensive rooting powders contain. Yeast also produces growth signals that tell root cells to multiply faster. Here's why this matters. The moment you move a seedling, you damage root hairs. Those tiny hairs absorb water and nutrients. The plant naturally produces hormones to signal new growth. But that takes hours, sometimes days. When you soak the root ball in yeast water 5 minutes before transplanting, you flood the roots with hormones immediately. New root hairs start forming within hours instead of days. As yeast cells multiply, they release amino acids, B vitamins, and trace minerals. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, iron, zinc. Not raw minerals the plant has to break down. Already in forms roots can absorb on contact. The yeast cells settle into the root zone and physically occupy space. They compete with disease organisms in the soil. Studies on lettuce and tomato showed lower disease rates when yeast is present. Space competition and natural compounds the yeast releases protect roots. 3 effects: hormone signal, nutrient boost, disease protection. That's why survival doubles. If you're learning something that's going to save your transplants, hit that subscribe button. Here's the recipe. 3 ingredients. $1. 5 minutes. 1 quart warm water. Feels like a warm bath. 2 tablespoons dry baker's yeast. 1 teaspoon white sugar. Test temperature with the back of your wrist. Water should feel comfortable and warm, not hot enough to make you pull away. If you see steam, it's too hot. Yeast dies instantly. If water feels cool, yeast won't activate. Use a glass jar or bowl. Pour in warm water. Add 2 tablespoons yeast and 1 teaspoon sugar. Stir until everything dissolves into a slightly cloudy beige liquid. The sugar is not for the plant. It's the wake-up signal for the yeast. Without sugar, yeast stays dormant and produces almost no hormones. Sugar gets consumed by the yeast during activation. By the time you use the solution, sugar is gone. Do not seal the jar with a tight lid. Yeast produces carbon dioxide gas. A sealed jar can crack from pressure. Lay a clean paper towel across the opening and secure with a rubber band. Gas escapes. Dust stays out. Jar needs to sit in the dark. Direct sunlight damages yeast cells. Closed cabinet or dark corner under a towel works perfectly. Wait 5 minutes. Yeast is multiplying and releasing hormones. Visible signs it's ready are a foamy beige cap forming across the surface and tiny bubbles rising through the liquid. Smell is mild and bread-like. When foam appears, solution is alive and ready. Now dilute it. Concentrate is too strong to use directly. Dilute 1 part to 10 parts water. Mix your 1 quart of yeast solution into 2.5 gallons of plain water. Tap water that's been sitting out overnight or rainwater works fine. Here's the critical step. 5 minutes before you transplant, remove your seedling from its pot. Hold the entire root ball and submerge it completely in the diluted yeast water. Let it soak for 5 full minutes. Solution soaks into the root ball. Yeast cells settle into every gap. Hormones coat every root hair. After 5 minutes, lift the seedling out. Let excess water drip off. Plant immediately into the ground or larger pot. Water it in with more of the diluted yeast solution. Pour about 1 cup around the base of each transplant. Cold climate gardeners. Transplant late May through early June after last frost. Warm climate gardeners. As early as April. Very warm climates. Year-round. Regardless of where you live. Use the yeast treatment 5 minutes before every transplant. Within 24 hours, yeast-treated transplants hold their leaves firmer through afternoon heat. By 48 hours, new root hairs are forming. By 1 week, the transplant is actively growing instead of just surviving. By season's end, the root ball is noticeably denser and healthier. Type yeast soak if you're going to try this. Now here's that timing mistake. The one that explains why some people see incredible results and others see nothing. The diluted yeast solution does not keep. Once you mix the concentrate with water, you have 24 hours to use it. After that, yeast population crashes. Solution starts turning to alcohol. It can stress roots instead of supporting them. Make the concentrate fresh the morning you transplant. Dilute it immediately before use. Soak your transplants. Plant them. Use any leftover solution to water other plants that same day. Do not save it for next week. Do not refrigerate it. It won't stay good. Water hotter than 120 degrees kills the yeast. Solution will smell sour instead of bread-like. If that happens, dump it and start over. Tightly sealed lid is the second mistake. Jar can crack from gas pressure. Paper towel cover is the solution. Old yeast is the third mistake. If your yeast is more than 2 years past its expiration date, it may not activate. If nothing happens within 5 minutes, yeast is dead. Get a fresh packet. The 5-minute step that doubles transplant survival. Warm water like a bath. 2 tablespoons yeast. 1 teaspoon sugar. Wait 5 minutes until foam appears. Dilute 1 part to 10 parts water. 5 minutes before transplanting, submerge the entire root ball. Soak for 5 full minutes. Plant immediately. Water in with more solution. Yeast floods the root zone with growth hormones, amino acids, and beneficial organisms. Survival jumps from 60% to over 90%. Root mass triples by season's end. Total cost, less than $1. Total time, 5 minutes. Half your transplants surviving versus almost all of them thriving. What's the worst transplant loss you've ever had? Drop a comment. And if you've got a transplanting trick that works, share it below. If this just solved your transplant problem, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This is Plantoria Gardening. We don't follow trends. We share proven methods that actually increase yields. Traditional techniques, real results, no hype, 5 minutes before transplant. That's the entire difference between losing half your seedlings and keeping nearly all of them. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.